The scream that tore through the quiet suburban home at 11:47 p.m. would haunt Maria Elena Vasquez for the rest of her life. She found her 17-year-old daughter Sofia collapsed on the bathroom floor, lips turning blue, pulse barely detectable. The pill bottle scattered across the tile told a story no mother should ever have to read. "Sofia, mija, stay with me." Maria Elena's trembling hands searched for a pulse as she dialed 911, but her daughter's eyes had already rolled back. The paramedics said later that another 10 minutes might have been too late. As the ambulance sirens faded into the night, Maria Elena stood alone in her empty house, surrounded by the devastating silence that follows crisis. She walked slowly down the hallway, past family photos that now seemed like memories from another lifetime, until she reached the small table where her late grandmother's Virgin Mary statue had stood for 30 years. The delicate porcelain figure, no taller than a wine bottle, had been blessed by a priest in Mexico before crossing the border with her family decades ago. Before we go deeper into this mystery, take a moment to subscribe to Virgin Mary Mysteries. Stories like this are too powerful to experience alone. What happened next, according to Maria Elena, would change everything she thought she knew about faith, protection, and the power of a mother's desperate prayer. With shaking knees, she knelt on the hardwood floor and clasped her hands so tightly that her knuckles turned white. But here's what made this moment different from any prayer she had ever offered before. She made no sound at all, no whispered pleas, no sobbing petitions. Not even the soft murmur of a Hail Mary. Maria Elena later told her priest that something deep inside her soul insisted that this prayer needed to be offered in complete, reverent silence. Her lips moved, but no words escaped. Her tears fell, but no cries emerged. For 27 minutes, she knelt there in absolute quiet, pouring out her heart to the Virgin Mary through thoughts alone. When she finally opened her eyes, the house felt different. She couldn't explain it then, and she struggles to put it into words even now. The air seemed softer somehow, as if it had been touched by an invisible presence. The familiar creaks and settling sounds of her old home had somehow changed in quality, becoming almost musical. Even the streetlight filtering through her curtains appeared warmer, more golden than its usual harsh white. At the hospital, doctors were already beginning to speak in whispers about Sofia's remarkably rapid stabilization. Her vital signs had improved far more quickly than anyone expected. But back in that quiet house, as Maria Elena finally stood on unsteady legs, she noticed something that would be the first of many unexplained occurrences to follow. The Virgin Mary statue, which had always faced directly forward toward the hallway, was now turned slightly to the right, toward Sofia's empty bedroom. Had Maria Elena's silent prayer been heard in ways that would soon become impossible to ignore? To understand why Maria Elena chose silence that night, you need to know about the women who came before her. The Virgin Mary statue had been carved by hand in Guadalajara in 1954, a wedding gift to Maria Elena's grandmother, Rosa, who carried it across the border wrapped in her only good dress. Rosa used to say that the statue had listening eyes, that it heard prayers even when they couldn't be spoken aloud. During the family's early years in East Los Angeles, when money was scarce and Rosa's husband worked double shifts at the cannery, she would kneel before the statue each morning before dawn. But Rosa never prayed out loud. She believed that some prayers were too sacred, too desperate, too personal to be spoken where anyone, even family, might overhear. Her silent conversations with the Virgin Mary became family legend. When Rosa passed the statue to Maria Elena's mother, Carmen, the tradition continued. Carmen prayed silently through her husband's deployment to Vietnam, through Maria Elena's difficult birth, through the lean years when they nearly lost their house. The statue moved from apartment to apartment, house to house, but always held the place of honor on a small table covered with Rosa's hand-crocheted doily. Now Maria Elena understood why silence felt so necessary that terrible night. Some prayers run too deep for words. Sophia had been such a bright child, honor roll student with dreams of becoming a veterinarian. But something shifted during her sophomore year of high school. New friends, late nights, grades that began sliding despite Maria Elena's constant vigilance. The first time Maria Elena found pills in Sophia's backpack, Sophia swore they belonged to a friend. The second time, Sophia stopped making excuses altogether. "You don't understand anything about my life," Sophia had screamed just 2 weeks before the overdose, her once gentle eyes now hard with anger. "That stupid statue can't fix everything like you and Grandma always pretended." Those words had cut deeper than any of Sophia's other rebellions. Maria Elena had tried everything: counseling, strict curfews, even sending Sophia to stay with relatives in Arizona for a month. Nothing worked. Sophia always found her way back to the pills, back to the friends who were slowly killing her with their kindness. The night before the overdose, Maria Elena had found herself standing before the Virgin Mary statue at 3 a.m., unable to sleep. She had whispered every prayer she knew, begged for guidance, pleaded for strength to save her daughter. But the desperate feeling in her chest only grew stronger. Now she realized that all those spoken prayers had been preparation for this moment, when only silence would be pure enough to carry the weight of a mother's breaking heart. But why had her grandmother's tradition of silent prayer seemed to awaken something in the house itself? As Maria Elena drove back to the hospital the next morning, she noticed that every neighbor she passed seemed to look at her with unusual gentleness, as if they sensed something had changed. Mrs. Rodriguez from next door even crossed herself as Maria Elena's car passed by. What had those 27 minutes of silence actually accomplished? And why did the house now feel like it was holding its breath, waiting for something extraordinary to unfold? Sophia spent 4 days in intensive care, her body fighting to recover from what doctors called a significant overdose event. Maria Elena barely left the hospital, surviving on vending machine coffee and the kindness of nurses who recognized a mother's vigil. But each evening, she felt an inexplicable pull to return home, as if the house itself was calling her back. On the third night, exhausted and emotionally drained, Maria Elena finally drove home around midnight to shower and gather clean clothes. As she approached her front door, keys in hand, she discovered something that made her freeze on the porch. The door was unlocked. Not just unlocked, it was slightly ajar, as if someone had carefully opened it but forgotten to close it completely. Maria Elena's heart raced as she pushed the door open cautiously, expecting to find evidence of a break-in. But the house was exactly as she had left it. Her purse sat untouched on the kitchen counter. Her grandmother's jewelry box remained undisturbed on the bedroom dresser. Even the $20 bills she kept in a coffee can were still there. But as she moved through the house, room by room, Maria Elena discovered something far more unsettling than theft. Every single door in the house, bedroom doors, bathroom doors, even the closet doors, stood completely open. She distinctly remembered closing Sophia's bedroom door before leaving for the hospital that morning, unable to bear the sight of the unmade bed and scattered belongings. Now, Sophia's room was wide open, and a gentle breeze seemed to flow through it, even though all the windows were closed and locked. Standing in the hallway, Maria Elena noticed that the Virgin Mary statue had moved again, not dramatically, but noticeably. It now faced directly toward the front door, as if watching over the entrance to their home. The small votive candle she had lit before leaving for the hospital 3 days ago should have burned out hours ago, but it flickered steadily, as if it had just been lit. If this story is pulling you in, subscribe now and tell me in the comments what you believe is really happening. Your insight might reveal something we haven't seen yet. That night, Maria Elena found herself unable to sleep in her own bed. Instead, she sat on the living room couch, watching the hallway where the statue stood sentinel. Around 3 a.m., she noticed something that made her breath catch in her throat. The house had begun to emit a sound so soft she wasn't sure if she was actually hearing it or feeling it. It was like the whisper of silk against silk. or the sound of gentle breathing. Not frightening, but unmistakably present. The sound seemed to emanate from the walls themselves, as if the house had developed a heartbeat. When her sister Carmen called the next morning to check on Sofia, Maria Elena found herself struggling to explain what was happening. "The house feels protective," was all she could manage. Carmen suggested it was just stress and grief playing tricks on her mind. But that afternoon, when Maria Elena returned from the hospital, she found every door in the house open once again, though she had carefully closed them all before leaving. What force was moving through her home, and why did it seem so intent on keeping every passage open and free? On the fifth day, Sofia opened her eyes with a clarity that stunned her medical team. Dr. Martinez, who had been preparing Maria Elena for the possibility of long-term cognitive damage, found himself at a loss to explain Sofia's rapid neurological recovery. "In 30 years of practice," he told Maria Elena privately, "I've never seen someone bounce back this quickly from such severe toxicity." But Sofia's first words to her mother weren't about the hospital or her pain. They were about a dream that had repeated every night since the overdose. "Mama, there was a lady in blue who kept visiting me," Sofia whispered, her voice still weak, but her eyes more alert than they had been in months. She never spoke, but I could feel her telling me it wasn't time yet. She kept pointing toward home, like she was showing me the way back. Maria Elena felt her throat tighten. She hadn't told Sofia anything about the silent prayer, about the moved statue, about the strange protectiveness that seemed to have settled over their house. Yet somehow, Sofia seemed to know. The doctors wanted to keep Sofia for observation for another week, but her vital signs continued to improve at what they called an unprecedented rate. Blood tests that should have shown lingering toxic effects came back remarkably clear. Even the psychiatric evaluation revealed a young woman who seemed genuinely committed to recovery, rather than someone merely saying what adults wanted to hear. Meanwhile, the mystery at home was beginning to draw attention from unexpected sources. Mrs. Rodriguez knocked on Maria Elena's door on Saturday morning, her usually stern face soft with concern. "Mija, I hope you don't mind me asking, but is everything okay with your house? For the past week, my husband and I have been seeing this gentle light coming from your windows at night." "What kind of light?" Maria Elena asked, though something in her chest already knew. "It's not electric light, and it's not from candles. It's softer, like moonlight, but golden. It moves from room to room, always gentle, never harsh. My husband thought maybe you had some kind of new lamp, but I told him it didn't look like anything from a store." By the end of the week, 3 other neighbors had mentioned the mysterious light. The Fernandez family across the street said they had seen it flowing through what they knew was Sofia's bedroom window. Old Mr. Santos from 2 houses down claimed the light had actually helped him find his way home one night, when he'd gotten confused during his evening walk. "It was like a lighthouse," he told Maria Elena, "drawing me towards safety." But Maria Elena found herself caught between wonder and worry. Was she experiencing divine intervention, or was her grief-stricken mind creating patterns where none existed? Were her neighbors seeing what they expected to see, influenced by their knowledge of Sofia's crisis? Even more troubling was the growing sense that whatever presence had settled over their home was becoming stronger, more noticeable. The soft breathing sound in the walls continued each night, and now Maria Elena had begun to notice that the temperature in the house seemed to respond to her emotions, growing warmer when she felt afraid, cooler when she was angry. Was this the Virgin Mary's gentle response to a mother's silent prayer, or was something else entirely awakening in their home? Sofia came home on a Tuesday afternoon, weak but determined to rebuild her life. Maria Elena had prepared her daughter's room with fresh sheets and the small bouquet of white roses that Sofia had always loved. But they had barely finished Sofia's first dinner at home when an unwelcome visitor arrived. The knock on the front door was aggressive, insistent. Through the peephole, Maria Elena saw a young man she recognized from the school parking lot. Marcus, one of Sophia's former friends who'd been part of her descent into addiction. His eyes were wild, and he kept looking over his shoulder as if he was being followed. "Sophia owes me money," he announced when Maria Elena cracked the door open, keeping the security chain in place. "She took pills on credit. I need payment now." Behind Maria Elena, Sophia appeared in the hallway, her face pale but resolute. "I don't owe you anything, Marcus. I never asked for credit." "That's not how this works," Marcus said, his voice becoming more agitated. He reached for the door handle, trying to push it open wider. "I'm coming in to talk about this." But the moment Marcus's hand touched the doorknob, something extraordinary happened. According to both Maria Elena and Sophia, the young man's face changed completely. His aggressive expression melted into confusion, then fear, then something approaching terror. He snatched his hand back from the door as if it had burned him, stumbling backward off the porch. "What did you do to this place?" he whispered, staring at the door with wide eyes. I can't even get close." Marcus tried twice more to approach the door, but each time he got within 3 feet of the threshold, he stopped abruptly, as if he had walked into an invisible wall. His tough demeanor crumbled completely, and neighbors later said they heard him muttering to himself as he hurried away. "Something's protecting that house, something big." Sophia watched from the window as Marcus practically ran to his car. "Mama, did you see his face? It was like he was looking at something we couldn't see." That evening, Sophia's phone buzzed with messages from other kids in her former circle. Marcus had been telling everyone that the Vasquez house was off limits now, claiming that some kind of supernatural security system had been installed. He warned them all to stay away, describing a feeling of overwhelming presence that made it impossible for him to approach the front door. He said it felt like someone was standing right behind him, someone much bigger than any person. Sophia read from one text. "He's telling everyone that your house has been blessed by something powerful." Word spread quickly through the network of troubled teens. Within days, Maria Elena noticed that the usual groups of young people who sometimes gathered on their street corner had moved their activities several blocks away. Even delivery drivers seemed to approach their house with unusual reverence, many crossing themselves before walking up the front path. But the most remarkable change was in Sophia herself. The restless energy that had driven her to seek escape through drugs seemed to have been replaced by a deep calmness. She spent hours each day sitting near the Virgin Mary statue, not praying aloud, but simply being present in the silence that had become sacred. What kind of protection had surrounded their home, and why did it seem to grow stronger each day? 2 weeks into Sophia's recovery, mother and daughter began sharing evening conversations that felt like unexpected gifts. Sophia, who had been closed off for months, now seemed eager to talk about her experiences during those mysterious hospital days. "Mama, I need to tell you something about the lady in blue," Sophia said one evening as they sat together in the living room. "In my dream, she wasn't just pointing toward home. She was showing me you, kneeling right there, praying without words." Maria Elena's breath caught. She had told no one about the silent prayer. "She showed me how your tears were falling, how your hands were shaking," Sophia continued, her voice trembling. "But she also showed me all those times I yelled at you about the statue, about faith being useless, how I broke your heart over and over." For the first time in years, Sophia reached for her mother's hand. "I'm so sorry, Mama, for everything." What happened next felt like pure grace. As they embraced, both crying now, the gentle golden light that neighbors had noticed began to glow softly around them, not from any lamp or candle, but emanating from the air itself, warm and infinitely tender. In that luminous moment, Sophia made a life-changing decision. "I want to help other kids," she whispered. "Kids like I was, kids who think drugs are the only way to stop hurting." The following Saturday, Sophia asked to volunteer at the community center's Narcotics Anonymous childcare program. The coordinator, Mrs. Santos, was initially skeptical. Sophia was too young, too recently in crisis. But something in Sophia's quiet determination convinced her to give the teenager a chance. "There's something different about you," Mrs. Santos told Sophia after their interview. "You carry a peace that most people don't find until much later in recovery." Sophia's first day exceeded all expectations. She had natural gentleness with the children, and several parents commented on how their usually anxious toddlers calmed down in Sophia's presence. By afternoon's end, Mrs. Santos pulled Maria Elena aside. "I've run this program for 12 years, she said quietly. "I've never seen children respond like they respond to your daughter. It's like she radiates safety." The most profound moment came that evening, when Sophia knelt beside her mother in front of the Virgin Mary statue for the first time since childhood. They didn't speak aloud. Sophia had learned the power of silent prayer from her dreams. As they knelt together in quiet reverence, both women felt the presence in their house settle around them like a protective embrace. The statue, which had been turning different directions over the past weeks, now faced directly forward again toward both of them, watching over their restored bond. But their peaceful healing was about to be tested in ways that would require every bit of the protection that had gathered around their home. 3 months into Sophia's recovery, life had settled into a peaceful rhythm that felt almost too good to be true. Sophia continued volunteering at the community center, and the house maintained its gentle, protective atmosphere. Both women had grown accustomed to the soft golden light that appeared each evening and the Virgin Mary statue that seemed to watch over their daily activities. But on a cold November night, their newfound peace would face its greatest test. Maria Elena awoke at 2:33 a.m. to a soft crackling sound, like cellophane being crumpled. Groggily, she assumed Sophia was getting a late-night snack. But as consciousness returned, she realized the sound was coming from Sophia's bedroom. Heart racing, Maria Elena rushed down the hallway and gasped in horror. Orange light flickered beneath Sophia's door, and the unmistakable smell of smoke filled the air. Sophia's room was on fire. "Sophia! Wake up!" Maria Elena screamed, pounding on the door that had somehow become locked from the inside. Through the gap beneath the door, she could see flames spreading across Sophia's desk area, where a space heater had apparently malfunctioned. According to both women, what happened next defied all explanation. As Maria Elena fumbled desperately with the locked door handle, she felt an inexplicable compulsion to look toward the Virgin Mary statue. In the chaos, she could have sworn she saw the porcelain figure's eyes shift, not toward her, but toward Sophia's door. Suddenly, Sophia's screams stopped. The crackling continued, but Maria Elena heard her daughter's voice, calm and clear. "Yes, I see you. I understand." When Sophia's bedroom door finally opened, unlocking itself without intervention, Sophia emerged calmly, carrying a photograph of her grandmother and a small rosary. She seemed completely unaware of the danger, as if guided through the smoke by an invisible hand. Behind her, the fire continued burning in a pattern that investigators later said violated every law of physics they understood. The flames had spread everywhere except for one narrow pathway, exactly the route Sophia had taken to reach safety. Even more inexplicable was what happened next. As both women stood in the hallway, paralyzed by shock, the fire began diminishing on its own. Not gradually, but systematically, as if being carefully extinguished by an invisible presence. By the time the fire department arrived, the flames had completely died out. The damage was extensive. Sophia's room was gutted, but the fire had stopped exactly 18 inches from the hallway table, where the Virgin Mary statue stood watch. Fire Chief Captain Rodriguez found no logical explanation. "In 30 years of firefighting," and he told Maria Elena, "I've never seen flames stop so abruptly without intervention." But perhaps the most mysterious detail was discovered the next morning. Throughout the entire ordeal, every other door in the house had remained wide open, ensuring clear escape paths, while Sophia's door had locked itself until the exact moment she needed to flee. What force had guided Sophia safely through the smoke, and why did the fire seem to bow to an authority greater than the laws of nature? 6 months after the fire, the Vasquez house on Maple Street has become something of a quiet legend in their neighborhood. Sophia's room has been rebuilt, but the family chose to leave one small section of the original wall untouched, the area directly across from where the Virgin Mary statue stands guard. The scorch marks remain visible, a gentle reminder of the night when protection took physical form. Sophia, now 18 and thriving in her first year of community college, has expanded her volunteer work beyond the childcare program. She now facilitates support groups for teenagers struggling with addiction, and her waiting list grows longer each month. Parents drive from neighboring cities, drawn by stories of the young woman who seems to radiate an inexplicable sense of peace and safety. "There's something about Sophia," explains Mrs. Santos. "Kids who won't talk to counselors open up to her immediately. She has a gift for seeing through their anger to the pain underneath." But Sophia herself credits something beyond her own abilities. Each morning, before heading to college or volunteer work, she spends 10 minutes in silent prayer before the Virgin Mary statue. She never asks for anything specific. She simply offers her availability to be used for whatever purpose is needed. Maria Elena has returned to her job at the school district, but neighbors notice a change in her as well. The worried lines around her eyes have softened, replaced by a quiet confidence that seems to attract people seeking guidance. Teachers seek her advice about troubled students, and more than one parent has left their conversation feeling mysteriously hopeful. The house itself continues to exhibit the gentle mysteries that began with Maria Elena's silent prayer. Doors still open on their own when someone needs comfort. The golden light still appears in windows, now so regularly that neighbors use it as a landmark when giving directions. "Turn left at the house with the warm glow," they say, and everyone knows exactly which home they mean. Father Miguel, who has visited twice to understand what his parishioners keep telling him about the Vasquez family, describes the experience simply: "Their home feels like a chapel, not because of any religious artifacts, but because of the reverence that lives there." If this story moved you, subscribe to Virgin Mary Mysteries so you never miss the next chapter in these extraordinary mysteries. The Virgin Mary statue continues to turn slightly throughout the week, sometimes facing the front door, sometimes Sophia's rebuilt room, sometimes the street where troubled young people still gather, though now they seem drawn to the house rather than avoiding it. Sophia has noticed that whenever the statue faces outward, someone in need usually appears at their door within hours. But perhaps the most beautiful mystery is the simplest one. Every evening at sunset, as mother and daughter kneel together in their hallway for silent prayer, visitors report seeing not one gentle light in the windows, but two, one golden, one silver, intertwining like a dance of protection that began with a desperate mother's wordless plea and has now become a beacon of hope. What other miracles await those who learn to pray in the sacred silence that speaks louder than words? And why do those who visit the Vasquez home leave with the unshakable feeling that they have witnessed love made visible? Type "sacred silence" in the comments if this story touched your heart, and share where you're watching from. Your prayers join with others to create a chain of protection around families everywhere.